Okay, welcome everyone. Good evening. We're excited to hear tonight's presentation from the Parents Place of Maryland. This presentation tonight is on the topic of family engagement, and I want to introduce to you our presenters. One outstanding presenter is Ms. Marlo Lemon. Ms. Marlo Lemon received her Bachelor's of Science degree from Coppin State University and Master's of Teaching and Administration from Loyola University. As an adjunct professor, she teaches the Working with Families of Students with Disabilities course at Towson University. In her most recent position, she served as a parent coordinator for Baltimore County Schools Birth to Five office. In this position, she encouraged, empowered, and gave support to families of children with disabilities. As a professional development facilitator, she has trained and mentored teachers on literacy for Johns Hopkins University and Howard County Public Schools. In her position as educational specialist for the Maryland State Department of Education, she worked in the Title I schools, early childhood, and special education. She is thankful for her years of teaching for Baltimore City and Baltimore County Public School systems because it allowed her to impact many children and families. She is a relationship builder and believes all children can achieve. However, she is most proud of her role as wife for over 20 years and mother of her 3 children, one of whom has autism. So she's speaking to us from personal experience tonight. That was an ad lib. And another with learning disabilities. Miss Marlo Lemon, can you give a wave, please? And let me also introduce you to Miss Giselle Martinez. Ms. Martinez has been supporting underserved and diverse communities in a variety of roles for several years. For the past 10 years, she has worked as a paraeducator with special education students in Prince George's County. Ms. Giselle is currently working on her undergraduate degree in social work, so she's obviously good people, and brings her expertise and passion to Parents Place of Maryland as a fluent Spanish speaker to serve Maryland's Latinx population. As a parent of a young child on the autism spectrum, she also understands firsthand what bilingual families experience. Ms. Giselle lives in Prince George's County with her husband and her 2 sons. And without further ado, let me turn it over to Ms. Lemon and Ms. Martinez.
Thank you very much, Ms.
Share your screen.
Yes, thank you so much. We definitely appreciate it. Okay, thank you, Giselle. Thank you, Yvette, for such warm and welcoming introductions. We really appreciate it, and we've enjoyed getting to know you in our professional groups. Today, we've just been asked to talk to parents about family and parent engagement. So we're looking forward to any questions you might have. Please feel free to stop us, unmute yourself and stop us, or use the raise hand feature if you have any questions. Next slide, please. We love quotes, so this is one we wanted to start with, along with a thank you to Prince George's County Schools. It is better to build strong children than to repair broken men. And this is a quote by Frederick Douglass. It's one of my favorite quotes, but I feel like it shows that we need the whole village. We need the school community and the home community working together to build our children. As Yvette said, we work at the Parents Place of Maryland, and Giselle, you can introduce yourself first.
Yeah, thank you. Like Yvette said, I am one of the bilingual parent educators at the Parents Place of Maryland, and I have a son on the autism spectrum. He is 6 years old in kindergarten, so I do understand firsthand the importance of family engagement, especially with all children, but especially the children with special needs, how important it is to be engaged in the school.
Thank you. And I'm Marlo Lemon. I'm the Director of Training at the Parents Place of Maryland. And I am the proud mommy of a double blessing and little surprise. My twins are now 16 and my daughter is 15. So one with autism and one with specific learning disabilities. So this is definitely a journey we're on with you together. A little bit about the Parents Place of Maryland before we jump into parent engagement. Our mission at the Parents Place of Maryland is to empower parents and families to improve their children with education and health outcomes for children with disabilities and have special healthcare needs. We are committed to diversity and equity. We believe truly in giving parents the tools that they need so they can go into IEP meetings or any other meetings comfortably to advocate for their children. We have been around for over 30 years. We just celebrated our 30th anniversary in November. We serve all Maryland school districts, so we're thankful for Prince George's County, but we also work from Ocean City to Allegheny County. What we love about our staff is all of us are 100% have children with developmental delays or special healthcare needs. So it's nice to have a staff that totally can relate when parents call and need our assistance.
And some of the ways that we help our families that come to us for help is we offer one-on-one assistance to families. It could be a phone call, an IEP review, over Zoom. We help families one-on-one all the time. We also do support groups for families every week, our coffee and conversations. We share resources with our families. We have leadership trainings. We have trainings for early childhood, and we have trainings for our transitioning into adulthood. And we have trainings on the whole IEP 101 services. And we do have a lot of military outreach since Maryland does have a large military presence. And we like to help families better understand their children's disabilities, education and healthcare needs. We like to empower our families, so we help them communicate more effectively with schools, doctors, or other professionals that work with their children. We also want to empower our families to understand their rights and responsibilities under special education law and regulations, as well as their rights and benefits in the healthcare system. We help them obtain appropriate services for their children. We can also help families resolve disagreements with schools and other agencies. And of course, we help our families connect with community resources.
And tonight we want to hear from you, and we're going to talk to you a little bit about what family engagement is, discuss some barriers to family engagement, and explore ways to increase family engagement within our school community and within our system. So what exactly is family engagement? What made you all decide to come to this presentation? What do we mean by family engagement? When we define family engagement, think of it as families and schools working together. We know that families can look different. It could be grandparents, it could be foster families, it can be traditional families, non-traditional families, but it is families working together with the school system. It's families advocating, speaking up, getting involved, meaningful involvement. How will schools know what you want if you don't tell them, if you're not actively engaged? And some of you might say, well, you know, I work all day, I have 2 jobs, I have several kids in several different schools. There's still always ways where we can be engaged with the school system, even in this time of COVID and even when things are extremely busy. Next slide, please. So let's talk about some barriers. Just let's talk about some barriers. I was going to say I was going to stop sharing the screen, but no, we don't have to. Barriers. What do you think? And we can hear from any parent, family, professional. What do you think are some barriers to family involvement? We know that times are hard. Getting engaged can be hard. Sometimes Zoom after school hours are hard. But what do you think? You can unmute yourself. What do you think are some barriers to family engagement? Or you can put it in the chat if you're more comfortable putting things in the chat.
I was going to say we have a very small group tonight, so you can feel free to unmute yourself or put a comment in the chat, as Ms. Lemon said.
Well, while you are thinking, I'm going to go to the next slide and start giving you some time. Yes, thank you, Sharon. The time is very, it's big. Yeah, as a working mom, time, and that's one of our examples on the next slide. But I think sometimes we think really big when I know that time could be, you know what, let me cut out this teacher's lamination, or I have an availability to make copies at the school. Let me see if I can make copies at the school. Let me call one new parent on my way home while I'm driving. So a lot of times I know I'm like, oh, I need like an hour in a day. But one time someone told me, I have 3 children in 3 different schools with 3 different needs. So at one time I just felt like I was a taxi. I'm just driving all over the place. But it's not the amount of time, it's the quality of time. So if with my children, if I could do like 10 minutes of dedicated one-on-one time with my daughter when neither one of us have our phones, then that is so much more rewarding where I'm giving her all of my attention than planning, okay, like 2 hours, because time is a big barrier. And I know teachers appreciate any time we as parents can give. It could be my early childhood background. It could be helping volunteering when it's recess time at school, or during lunchtime to help, some of the young ones open things up, but it's always difficult. So I was trying to give you ways to think about how can we do family engagement differently. In this time of Zoom, it could be, getting permission and, with all of the HIPAA things, but if everything is done, let me be like a class parent and call a parent in the class to let them know different things that are going on. But these are some barriers that we have come across. So I want you to think about them. Lack of information. A lot of times parents will say, well, I didn't know that was going on. Well, if you had one person that we could connect with in the classroom, a teacher, or, we have a seesaw. Did you see the seesaw ad today? We know sometimes now that parents are getting out. Playgrounds are wonderful because we can go to the playground sometimes and find out different information, but it's lack of information sometimes. Or I really wanted to attend that call and I either didn't put it on my calendar. This one has soccer, lacrosse, different things opening back up. But sometimes it's lack of information. A language barrier. The flyer came home, but I didn't understand it. Availability of childcare, I know is big, especially for some of our evening activities. Parents are working, sometimes 2 and 3 jobs. Giselle and I both worked in Title I schools where we know that it can be challenging with both parents, in-laws, grandparents, or either no help, and you have to have availability for other children. When I think about high school and some barriers to engagement is a lot of our high school young people are watching younger siblings. So yes, that can be a barrier. So we have to figure out and sort of train our brain to figure out, okay, what can we do with the limited amount of time that we have to help the school and to help our children see that we value education where we're sending them every day, or why it's important to get on that Zoom call. Finances, a lot of times between fundraisers, it might be I can't get to the school because a bus comes and pick up my child and drop my child off every day. So inconsistent treatment of families could be, if I didn't have a good experience, I am anxious and hyperventilating just to come in the school. And sometimes, when I come in and if I don't feel as if I'm treated fairly, then I don't want anything to do with it. Educate my children, I'm okay. We have to think about, there was something on the news this morning about trauma, but we have to think about our own personal experiences. And all of these, again, are barriers to family engagement, but we don't want you to stop at these barriers. We have to find a way to break through and make it work for not only us, but for our children. I'm not feeling very welcome. My daughter always laughs when we go in the store and it's like, hi, how are you? I appreciate that because the last customer may have been upset, but I'm coming in fresh, or may have made them upset. So, feeling welcome. And it's just like the phone calls we make. Sometimes we make those phone calls a parent. If the first one is really positive, then I'm not on edge when you call the second time. If you have to tell me that my child may have been talking and running and doing some other things. So these are some barriers that we have to family engagement. If you can think of any more, please put them in the chat. But on the next slide, we're going to talk a little bit about how home and school can partner together. Because we know that when home and school partners together, it makes a difference. Parents begin to feel empowered. It definitely has an impact on learning. When your child knows that Ms. Martinez expects me to be on that Zoom call, I expect you to be on the Zoom call. So now I have two people that I can't fuss with. So I need to be on the Zoom call. So when you have a positive home-school partnership, it strengthens, it helps us connect, engage, and sustain, because we want all of our school communities to be inclusive for all children and all families. So for all children and all families. So we want to be able to find ways. It could be, and I keep thinking and going back to this year of COVID, it could be that you have a parent, English speaking or non-English speaking, that just does not know Zoom. So what can we do as another parent? Do we have a volunteer that, now that things are opening up a little bit, to help this other parent learn, okay, this is what this button is. A lot of times we take for granted that our parents and families know all these latest and greatest and Seesaw, and think about how many platforms we've had to learn this year. You have Google Meets and Zoom and all of these other things. And it can be difficult. Think about our parents and families who might not have access to hotspots. They're working from home. So we have to find ways to engage our parents and families. And then as parents and families, we have to find a way to try to stay engaged. But what I do know, and what statistics says, is when you have engaged families, the education quality increases, the parent involvement and engagement increases. It's so many things that will increase. Your child's success in school will increase because they will know that this is something that is important to you. So Giselle is going to take us and talk us a little bit about how how may family engagement look differently, virtual and hybrid.
Sorry, could I mute myself? Yes, so like Marlo was saying, understanding some basic technology and communication, now with COVID and hybrid or virtual learning, we can no longer pick our child up from school at the door and meet the teacher, greet the teacher, and talk to them for a few minutes to see how the day went, or if they have something to share with us. So we have to rely on the technology. And since not all parents can access email effectively, if maybe they know how to use it a little bit, other parents not use it very well, or Zoom or Google Meet or Google Classroom. There's so many ways to reach out to the teacher, but again, if you don't understand the technology, it is very hard. So like Marlo was saying, if you know other parents in your community that need help, help those in your community understand, learn a little bit, or create groups. I know in my son's school, the parents created Facebook groups for each grade. And that has been very effective. So everybody in the grade who wants to be a part of the group, of the Facebook group, joined, and every time something's going on, an event or anything, it's posted on Facebook, and it's very easy to access. In my other son's classroom, they have a designated parent who the teacher reaches out to personally to share information, and then they, as a liaison to the other parents, and she created a WhatsApp group and added all the parents and shares information on that. So parents are having to be more creative and finding ways how to communicate more effectively with their school. And those are just some ideas on how to do it. And of course, there's also Class Tag, Class Dojo, all these apps that, like Marla was saying, we've had to learn to use all of them. Seesaw. I have 2 children and they use about 5 different apps each. They're at 2 different schools. So it's really hard to keep up with who belongs to who every time I get a notification on my phone when something is posted. So just staying organized can be very difficult, but having these support groups where other parents are involved can be very effective with keeping a positive communication with the school.
Thank you, Giselle. We just really want to reiterate that you are your child's best advocate. You have to ask questions. If you don't understand something, it is okay to say, I don't know. Well, you know what? Can you explain that to me? Again, please, can you give me an example? Sometimes just out of respect, and it's, that's the teacher. Yes, the teachers in the schools, they know your children. Academically, you know your child best as it relates to you are bringing your best to the school. You need to know what this term might mean. I used to always say in IEP meetings that I'm in education, my husband is not, so please don't edu-speak. Like, it's so many terms that we use in education. If you don't understand, it's okay to speak up. And that's what we want to get everyone to understand. Family engagement is the single most important criteria in helping children succeed. If they see, even if you think they're not paying attention, but if they see you actively involved in a school, and when I say not necessarily having a lot of time, but they know it's important for me to talk to your teacher to find out what's going on. How can I help? Yes, I might not like Zoom, and it's okay to be, but this is what we have to do for right now. So this is what I need you to do. So being really honest with your child and with the school and letting them know, we have 1 computer and 3 children. So this is what the homework might look like. But if the school doesn't know, they are not able to help you. So if it's you wanting to speak up, if you feel comfortable going to a friend that has some connections in the school and sharing there, but the school, they want to know your needs. But a lot of times they might plan all these wonderful activities. And if it doesn't fit your need or fit what you need, fit your need or fit the things that you might need, then they don't know about it. So they've had and planned all of these wonderful presentations. But if it doesn't meet your need, it's not important. And we know that we want all of our children to feel like they are, of course, all the time our number 1 priority. And in doing that, that's us being involved. And as we speak up, as they get older with children with different abilities, they will learn to speak up for themselves in this journey. I want to show just a really quick snippet about just a quick video, and hopefully it will work. It's not meant to be political, and you can because there are some political figures in here. So it's not meant to be political. If you just want to close your eyes and listen, feel free. But just listen to what they're saying about parent engagement.
Can you see the video?
Yes, I can see the video, and I could hear it too.
Okay.
Educators, authorities, and experts claim that our public education system is in the midst of a crisis. While they don't often agree on the solution, their prescriptions have one common ingredient: family engagement.
And so the question is whether all of us, as citizens and as parents, are willing to do what's necessary to give every child a chance to succeed. That responsibility begins not in our classrooms, but in our homes.
A very important part of the educational process is to involve the parents.
To really involve parents and the entire community in ensuring that public education improves.
If we can have parental involvement, that's huge and terrific.
It is well documented and plain common sense that parental involvement in a child's education boosts student learning and improves both behavior and student attendance.
Unfortunately, there are still studies coming out that show that many parents feel that the total responsibility for the education of their students is the schools and the teacher. And that's not true.
There are no excuses. Because when you are in the building, boys see a good example, girls see a good example, and children will change their behavior just because they know you.
When I walk into a school where the parent volunteers, the community partners, I can just feel the difference in the building.
Our highest achieving kids always have parental support. What does that tell us? We've got to get parental support for more of our kids.
You've got to let your kid know you're invested. So when they come home, ask them, can I see your homework? Ask them, what did they do in school?
So that piece, that collaboration piece that I talked about before, more and more and more, I see that as the most important factor of helping kids learn.
Schools can't do it all by themselves, okay? And if we don't find a ways to engage parents, then we're not going to get it done.
My mom showed up in my school, scared me to death. She would look the teacher in the eye and say, my child will get an A in this class. It's either going to be your fault or his fault. If it's his fault, I'll take care of him at home. But if it's your fault, I'm coming back here.
I'm telling you, if everybody who is a parent who is listening right now went to your school and said to the teacher, tell me what I can do to help you help my child, you would get a different level of respect, and you would get a different level of return for your child. Would you not?
Look, everybody knows the kids whose parents show up, you can't help it by human nature. You pay particular attention to those children.
I'm not going to deny it's difficult because all the factors that we've been talking about all weekend play into that. The employment issues, let's just take one of them, and the stress of lower income families and just trying to exist make it difficult, obviously, to get involved. Right. But I think we have to start from the belief, a real belief, that family engagement is not external to the process of education.
In the end, there is no program or policy that can substitute for a parent, for a mother or father who will attend those parent-teacher conferences, or help with homework, or turn off the TV, put away the video games, read to their child. I speak to you not just as a president, but as a father, when I say that responsibility for our children's education must begin at home. That is not a Democratic issue or a Republican issue. That's an American issue.
Thank you. I know that there were, several political figures, but just the words that they had, next slide, please, Ms. Giselle. The words that they said were just so powerful. And again, Giselle and I are in it with you, where it's not meant to be preachy. It's just meant for you to understand how important our voices are. This is another one of my favorite quotes. Every child deserves a champion, an adult who will never give up on them, who understands the power of connection and insists that they become the best that they can be. That was by Rita Pearson. If you can look at her TED Talk, it is absolutely beautiful. Yes, I will. Someone asked for the video. I will make sure that Ms. Young gets a copy of the link for the video. And thank you very much. But we are our children's best champion. We are the ones that have to speak up for them. If they see us, and again, sometimes I think it has to be we think it has to be in large doses, but I've learned that, it's, again, you can't divide yourself up. I have 3 in 3 different schools, but to show up, when you show up, to show up and be fully present, whether it's not all the year, not the one that's running all around, if that's not what you have time for, but it shows the commitment that you have not only to your child, but to the school. And in doing all of this, next slide, I have to remind you, have you ever heard of the expression, put your mask on first? Because I think this particular year, it has been extremely difficult with self-care. We hear that term a lot, but we're looking at our whole child. We're looking at our children educationally, we're looking at them emotionally and socially. So we're looking at everything. We're putting out fires, we're coming in, we're fixing dinner, doing homework, doing everything sometimes. But if you don't put your mask on first, and then you're like, oh, now I had this PTA meeting. So you know what, don't volunteer to be president, but say, you know what, I can help with one project. If your background is in accounting, okay, I'm gonna help with the box tops. I'll be the accounting person and send them off. So maybe one project, if you have time for it. I'm going to read once a month to a child in my children's class. Make time in your schedule, but as you're making time, remember to put your mask on first. And what that means is you can't take care of others until you take care of yourself. It is very difficult. So when you go on a plane and when they're given the safety instructions, and they always say, put your mask on first. And sometimes, again, I so appreciate each and every one of you that's on the call, because it's 7 o'clock on a weeknight. And some of you may have eaten dinner, some of you might not have eaten dinner, but the fact that you're here speaks volumes. We know that you care about your children, but we're giving you permission right now to, 1, put your mask on first, and 2, to know that it doesn't have to be a whole lot. It can be a lot of little things that you're doing so that it builds a connection between school and home. So that self-care is important. We have provided different resources, and I'll make sure that Ms. Young gets these. These are just articles, and it talks of different articles, recent studies, and it basically is evidence showing how parent engagement and involvement, the first one, increases student achievement, because your students know you're serious. They know when families are serious about their grades and things that they're going to do. And that's impactful. As they get older, what's very interesting about this and having a child with children with disabilities is now listening to them and allowing them to make some of their decisions. I'm trying, but it talks about ways to foster also meaningful connections. For some of our parents that might be on a call, for younger learners, this is Maryland Engaged Family. So this is a wonderful website, and it gives you activities you can do with some of our youngest learners. So you're in suggestions, ways and questions to ask the teacher. How can we be involved in COVID and Zoom? Some of you have taken on the teacher role, but getting suggestions, asking those questions, what's the best time to meet and call? As long as we're engaged, our children will be successful. So this is an early childhood resource. Do you have